Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. As a new renter on a tight budget, I had no choice but to turn to Craigslist to furnish my empty apartment cheaply. I was wary of buying used furniture online, but the deals were too appealing to pass up. Most listings seemed junky until one jumped out, a carved antique wardrobe selling for only $50. The photo showed it standing over 6 feet tall, with intricate floral carvings, side drawers, and mirrored front. Despite its apparent age, the wardrobe looked to be in decent shape. At most, the images showed some expected wear like scuffs and paint chipping. The seller, Mason, provided minimal description, only stating urgently that it needed to go immediately. Despite the limited details, I felt drawn to the wardrobe for its beautiful craftsmanship and negotiable price. I messaged Mason and we arranged for me to come paid up that Saturday morning. Pulling up to a small, cluttered bungalow, I found him already waiting outside. We exchanged quick pleasantries as he helped haul the cumbersome wardrobe into my truck bed. When I asked him about the background and his reason for selling, Mason grew noticeably anxious, saying he really needed it gone ASAP. His impatience stopped me from inspecting it thoroughly there, but I chalked it up to typical Craigslist flakiness and was just excited to get home with my unique new treasure. After getting the heavy wardrobe inside my apartment, I noticed a musty, damp odor lingering around it. Assuming it just needed a good cleaning, I grabbed Murphy's oil soap and started wiping down the wood surfaces. When I pulled out the bottom drawer, I felt something slide around inside the back crevice. Reaching my hand in, my fingers landed on what felt like paper. I carefully extracted the mystery object, finding a faded, crumpled piece of notebook paper that had been folded up and hidden away in the drawer. As I slowly unfolded it, a sense of unease washed over me. Scrawled across the paper in erratic handwriting was a disturbing, rambling letter. Phrases jumped out like the deed that can't be undone, and hiding the evidence is my only hope now. My pulse quickened reading the cryptic confession multiple times over. The unidentified writer described paralysis from guilt, pleading for forgiveness and debating turning themselves in. I had no idea what secret sin this note alluded to, but my gut told me it pointed to something horrific. Unsure what to do next, I tucked the note away, tempted to pretend I never found it. But over the next few days, the letter's haunting words kept creeping back into my thoughts. I debated showing it to the police in case it referenced an unsolved crime, but part of me worried I was overreacting and didn't want to embarrass myself. Still, my conscience wouldn't allow me to ignore a potential clue to something sinister. I finally worked up the nerve to go to the local police station and show the suspicious note to an officer, explaining I had found it hidden away in a Craigslist wardrobe. He scrutinized the rambling confession and said definitely warranted examination by a detective given the disturbing content. It decided to take the wardrobe itself as potential evidence. In the weeks following, I anxiously awaited updates on whether the note and wardrobe yielded any leads. The waiting only worsened my unease over what secrets that furniture might hold. Nearly a month later, I received a call from the lead detective requesting I come to the station to discuss developments. My stomach dropped imagining what they had uncovered. Sitting across from the stern detective, he informed me that fingerprints on the letter belonged to Samuel Lewis, a suspect in the 5-year-old disappearance of local woman Amanda Wells. When confronted, Lewis broke down and confessed to murdering Amanda in a fit of rage when she tried ending their affair. I sat there stunned listening to every chilling detail of this cold case. Lewis admitted he hid Amanda's remains inside the wardrobe before selling it online to conceal the evidence. He left the note as a confession of sorts, expecting the truth would someday come out. The wardrobe was his physical and psychological albatross. Thanks to my discovery and persistence, Amanda's family finally got closure on her mysterious disappearance. The story made local headlines, applauding Craigslist's role in cracking the case. But I took little comfort in helping, feeling only violation at having such evil inside my home. The police offered to return the wardrobe, but I vehemently refused, wanting it destroyed. In the end, this ordeal taught me secondhand bargains can come with great unseen costs. While I'm glad I could provide answers to a family in mourning, I wish I could go back to when perusing Craigslist was still an innocent adventure. Now I'm wary of what darkness-used items might hold. For better or worse, my blissful ignorance is gone. For weeks, I had been glued to Craigslist in my desperate search for a used car. After my beloved 1996 Toyota Corolla finally died with nearly 300,000 miles, I was forced to find a replacement on a tight budget. But anything under $2,000 was total junk. Cars with 200,000 miles or mechanical issues popping up in the ads daily. I was losing hope until one new listing made me do a double take. A 2002 Honda Civic in silver being sold for $1,800. That was already at the top of my price range, but the description said it only had 105,000 gentle miles on it. The seller named Lincoln claimed the car had always been diligently maintained with oil changes every 3,000 miles. When I saw the clean photos showing no visible damage, I immediately emailed him about setting up a test drive. Lincoln promptly responded saying the Civic was still for sale and I could swing by any time on Saturday. He only lived about 20 minutes away, which gave me time to look up buyer's guides on what to watch out for with these cars. I needed to make sure I didn't overlook any issues during my inspection. This felt like a prime opportunity and I didn't want to mess it up. I arrived at Lincoln's home in a nice suburban neighborhood on an overcast morning. As soon as I pulled up to the house, I immediately noticed the Civic parked in the long driveway. It looked even cleaner than the photos, the paint job almost shining, the tires practically brand new. I took this as a promising sign I was looking at an amazing deal. Lincoln himself greeted me right away and was surprisingly friendly for a random Craigslist seller. He was probably in his 40s or 50s and eager to talk up the car. He gushed about how reliable it had been for his two daughters through college, but now just sat unused with them moved out. I'd noticed he focused on mileage and maintenance, but left out key details like accident history or reasons for selling. Sitting in the driver's seat for the first time, I was struck by how new the interior looked and felt. The seats showed almost no wear, and the controls and displays all seemed to be fully functioning. Turning the car on, I was amazed at how quietly it idled. Lincoln boasted it had always been serviced at the Honda dealership on time. Taking the zippy little car for an extended test drive, I was blown away by how tight it handled for a vehicle from 2002. The engine accelerated smoothly, the transmission gear changes were seamless, the brakes had no shuddering. This drive was actually more enjoyable than my Corolla back in its prime. After 45 minutes behind the wheel, I was already cruising mentally in my potential new ride. But I still had enough sensibility to ask Lincoln back at his house about any service records or invoices, considering the car's apparent meticulous maintenance. He vaguely mentioned the work being done at the dealership but having no paperwork for it. This definitely raised my suspicions a bit. The Carfax report showed no issues though. Just to be 100% sure, I paid my mechanic friend to give the Civic a full inspection. When he called to say it checked out with flying colors, I finally felt ready to commit. Lincoln and I signed a simple bill of sale documenting the $1,800 price and contact information. The title transfer went smoothly with no issues. I drove off still in disbelief that I had landed such a gem. For 2 straight weeks, I was in used car heaven. The Civic performed flawlessly as I added miles on it while driving all over town. It had become my golden child. I raved about the deal to all my friends, feeling like I accomplished a major grown-up milestone. But deep down, I knew it was too good to last. My fears came true when I pulled into my driveway one night to find 2 police officers inspecting the Civic front end. As I apprehensively got out of the car, they informed me the damage to the headlight and bumper matched the vehicle used in a recent fatal hit and run. My heart dropped realizing the car was being impounded. At the station, detectives grilled me for hours about the car, where I got it, who I bought it from, how much I paid. I recounted the mundane story, but they seemed suspicious of someone buying such a clean Civic for $1,800 online. I was horrified thinking they assumed I had known it was involved in a crime. For weeks, I had to return for follow-up interviews as they investigated the hit and run and my potential connection. The accident had apparently occurred shortly before I bought the car. Selling stuff on Craigslist always sketched me out since you never truly know who you're dealing with as a seller. When I was short on rent 1 month, I decided to take a chance listing my old iPhone 6 for quick cash. I figured meeting in a public place would be safe enough to complete the transaction. That naive assumption nearly cost me my life. I crafted an eye-catching ad with a scenic stock photo of an iPhone and a short description emphasizing its good condition aside from some minor scratches. Based on similar model sales, I priced it at a reasonable $120. The ad exploded overnight with lots of inquiries, though most seemed like obvious scammer bots just from the wording. One message stood out from a guy named Dave. He asked thoughtful questions about the battery maximum capacity percentage and screen quality, explaining he just needed a temporary replacement phone after accidentally dropping his in the toilet. We agreed to meet that evening around 7 p.m. in the parking lot of the bustling local grocery store. Dave said he'd be arriving in a blue pickup truck and would text me on his way. As I drove to the meetup location that night, I felt the usual nervousness around selling items to strangers from the internet. But I tried calming myself since the grocery store lot was always swarming with people even late at night. I parked under a bright lamp post and pretended to scroll on my other phone until a dented older model blue truck pulled up next to me. The driver was alone and wearing a dark hoodie with the hood pulled up, along with a black baseball cap underneath that obscured his face in shadow. He gestured for me to come over without getting out. As I approached the passenger side door, my internal alarm bells started blaring intensely for some reason. Rather than stepping out, the man simply cracked the window open slightly and grunted for me to pass the phone through. Despite screaming instincts, I just wanted to complete the sale and get home at this point. As I reached to hand over the iPhone, the hooded man suddenly produced a large menacing kitchen knife from below the window, demanding my wallet and keys as well in a chilling, sinister tone. Before I could react, he burst out of the truck wildly wielding the blade, still keeping his identity hidden beneath the hood. Operating on pure adrenaline, I grasped the phone tightly and flung it directly at his head as hard as I could. It hit him square in the face based on the sickening crack, causing him to cry out in pain and reach up to grab his now gushing bloody nose. Seizing the distraction, I rushed forward and delivered a swift, strong kick right between his legs with all my strength. He crumbled to the pavement, moaning in agony. Not wanting to stick around to see how long the injuries I caused would incapacitate him, I pivoted and sprinted full speed for the safety of my car. I could hear him screaming vague threats that he would find me somehow as I peeled out, watching him crawl around uselessly in my rearview mirror. My heart felt like it would be out of my chest as I called 911 with shaky hands to report the armed robbery attempt. The operator helped calm me down and assured me I did the smartest things possible to protect myself in that horrific situation. But I was still rattled down to my very core. When 2 stern police officers arrived at my apartment to take my full statement, they informed me I had likely just foiled the same individual responsible for a string of armed Craigslist robberies in the area they were investigating. This perpetrator would set up fake sales to lure targets before pulling a deadly weapon and demanding their valuables. Thanks to my quick reflexes, I was the first victim to get a clear look at his face once the hood flew off in the scuffle. The police had me safely extract the entire text conversation with the criminal from my phone to aid their ongoing investigation. They also sent over a skilled sketch artist who patiently helped me recreate the man's distinct appearance to circulate among officers hunting for him. Apparently, he had a very noticeable lazy or wandering eye that I glimpsed briefly during the skirmish. Over the following weeks, I had to recount my harrowing encounter in minute detail numerous times to help detectives in their manhunt. They prepared me for the likelihood that I would need to definitively pick the perpetrator out of a police lineup once he was in custody. Sure enough, when that day came, I immediately pointed to the man with the obvious roving eye, just as chilling behind bars as he was in that dark parking lot. From subsequent interviews, I learned the man was named Carter Hill and had an extensive rap sheet including prior convictions for armed robbery and aggravated assault. When confronted with the overwhelming eyewitness and circumstantial evidence against him, Hill confessed that he exclusively targeted people selling phones on Craigslist, knowing they made distracted, vulnerable marks. He would wear disguises and pull a weapon immediately so they had no time to pick up on any sketchy vibes. But I had completely flipped the script by aggressively fighting back against the sudden armed ambush attempt, managing to temporarily neutralize him with an iPhone missile strike to the face. The solid proof I provided implicated Hill in several additional recent electronics thefts tied to his violent Craigslist robbery spree. He ultimately was sentenced to over a decade in state prison thanks to my actions and testimony against him. The detectives commended me for keeping a clear head and reacting decisively when faced with a life or death situation most people would find paralyzing. My courage and quick thinking under pressure helped them finally apprehend a prolific career criminal who had eluded capture for months despite his escalating crimes. I was simply grateful I somehow made it out of that parking lot unharmed so I could prevent him from brutally victimizing anyone else. My ancient, lumpy, twin-sized hand-me-down mattress had finally reached the point of causing unbearable back pain and restless, interrupted sleep every single night. But as a nearly broke college student, an expensive brand new queen mattress was out of the question given my extremely limited budget. In an act of desperation, I turned to trusty Craigslist, hoping to find a used queen mattress in decent condition for under $100. After scrolling through pages of ads, one post caught my eye from a guy named Ron who claimed to flip mattresses and beds on the side for extra cash. The photos in Ron's ad showed mattresses practically stacked floor to ceiling in what appeared to be a claustrophobic storage locker. Ron boasted in his posting that thanks to high inventory turnover from his side business, he always had an abundance of lightly used mattresses at unbeatable wholesale prices. One particular queen-size pillow top mattress caught my eye at just $75. The pictures showed it carefully wrapped in thick plastic, which Ron said in his ad preserved it from any dirt, stains, or funky odors. He claimed it was only slept on for a few months by the previous owner who upgraded to a bigger king-size mattress. Even though I felt skeptical about someone getting rid of a nearly brand new pillow top mattress so quickly, the price seemed too good to pass up. I messaged Ron through the ad and arranged to meet up that weekend to check out the mattress in person before committing to buy. That Saturday, I met Ron at the Barron storage locker as planned. He pulled up in an overcrowded pickup truck and came off immediately as an overly friendly, fast-talking salesman type clearly eager to make a deal. After briefly greeting me, Ron quickly launched into his well-rehearsed pitch about the stellar qualities of the mattress in question, emphasizing how it was practically brand new and that the pillow top provided extra plush comfort. As anticipated, when Ron led me to the back corner of the locker, the mattress was still carefully wrapped in thick plastic. He helped me cut it open and thoroughly inspect the mattress, pointing out its impeccable condition and trying to assure me this was an unbeatable bargain that wouldn't last long. Although I still wondered why someone would get rid of a plush pillow top mattress after only a few months, nothing seemed visibly wrong with it even after my thorough examination. And the discounted price was far better than I could find anywhere else or afford brand new. After contemplating, I agreed to hand over $75 in cash to Ron, who then helped me load the extremely heavy and unwieldy mattress into the back of my small sedan. After struggling to maneuver it up the stairs, I finally got the mattress situated on my rickety hand-me-down bed frame in my apartment. Cutting open the remaining plastic wrap, the fabric cover seemed pristine and had that characteristic fresh, new mattress smell rather than any musty odor. Eagerly, I put on a mattress protector followed by fresh sheets and collapsed onto the plush pillow top surface, instantly noticing the improved comfort and support for my aching back. I fell asleep excited at the prospect of finally getting a restful night's sleep. However, around 3 a.m. I got abruptly woken up by a strange crinkling sound coming from beneath me whenever I rolled over. I sat up, turned on the bedside light, and felt around trying to pinpoint the location. There was a noticeable lump on the lower edge near the foot of the mattress. I got up and flipped the mattress over to inspect the odd bulge. Firmly pressing along the base fabric, I kept hearing that unmistakable crinkling sound of what seemed like paper. Highly curious now, I rushed to the kitchen for a sharp knife and carefully slit open the fabric underside of the mattress. To my utter shock, concealed inside was a bulky package containing over $10,000 in cash stacked and banded together. My sleepy brain raced to make sense of why there would be a large sum of money purposefully hidden within an otherwise normally used mattress I had randomly purchased off Craigslist from some guy. Perhaps the previous owner concealed their life savings inside to keep it safe from a spouse, roommate, or creditors. Or maybe it was illicit cash derived from drugs, gambling, or other criminal dealings that was stashed away. Regardless, they had clearly intended the mattress itself to serve as a clever hiding spot for their secret cash hoard. After the initial shock finally subsided, I admit my thoughts soon drifted to contemplating what I could do with this totally unexpected and fortuitous financial windfall that had miraculously fallen into my lap. That substantial amount of cash could help me pay off nagging credit card debt from school and my remaining oppressive balance of student loans so much faster. Plus, I could use the extra money to finally get some much-needed repairs done on my unreliable beater car that had been giving me problems. While the mysterious and potentially questionable origins of the money did weigh on my conscience at first, it almost felt like divine providence that I had discovered this hidden treasure. I ultimately rationalized that the right thing to do was put the unexpected cash gift to good use, pragmatically improving my precarious financial situation. I carefully re-hid the money in a secure spot in my apartment while researching the safest way to gradually integrate these newfound funds into my accounts without raising any suspicions. Over several months, I slowly paid off my most burdensome debts and upgraded my decrepit junker car that had been costing me money in repairs. When curious friends and family asked about my markedly improved financial state lately, I vaguely cited getting a long overdue promotion at work combined with a small inheritance check from a distant relative I barely knew. I felt guilty lying to those closest to me, but it seemed harmless enough in my mind given the circumstances. In the end, no one ever came searching for the hidden cash hoard or accused me of any wrongdoing. For all I know, the previous mattress owner either genuinely forgot about their secret savings stash over time, or perhaps met some untimely tragic demise, taking the truth to their grave. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.